Record. There we go. So, guys, good evening. It is Thursday, the 9th of August, already into the second Thursday of the 8th month, year 2018. So, again, you know, as I've always said, time flies when we're having fun, but these Thursday calls now really are going from strength to strength, and we just keep getting better and better with regards to the people that we're bringing to the table. Every week we bring someone from the corporate field. Every week we bring someone from within our own community that at the moment we're in, you know, real good momentum. We've had a fantastic few months. And tonight's no different. You know, tonight is no different. We've got I guess, you know, network marketing royalty, a guy that's been in the industry for many, many years, had unbelievable success with what he's done, built huge teams around the world, made a hell of a lot of money, knows, you know, what's good and what's bad, and the ups and the downs and the wins and the losses and the highs and the lows. But I'm not going to introduce this guy tonight because I feel that it's down to somebody else that actually reached out to this guy. So, Denny, I'm going to throw this straight over to you to introduce our guest speaker tonight.
Thank you. Right, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Denny Hunt. And this gentleman I've been following on Facebook for quite some time. His lives are amazing. I always get value from them. He takes you around the world with him. He's been in the network marketing profession since 1978, so that's like 40 years. And 19, 20 years with the company he's with. He's from the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. And, you know, he's been doing network marketing since before mobile phones, before PCs, before everything. But I'm not sure what he's going to teach us today. But thank you so much, Jeff, for coming on the call. Thank you so much for, you know, being so humble and kind when I reached out to you. And we really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. How are you?
Good.
Can you
Doing great.
Okay? You can hear me okay?
Yes,
okay.
Thank you.
Good deal. Good deal. So nice to be with you. So, and then Paul, did you have you know, just so that I know how I can best be of help, is there a direction you want me to go with this? Or is there questions that anybody has that I can answer?
What we normally do, Jeff, is we get people to just tell their story, first of all. You know, what got you into network marketing, the challenges that you've overcome, what you're passionate about, you know, where this can take people, how it can change people's lives. So basically just, you know, just your background, just your story, what you've created, and then after that, we normally open it up for a little bit of a Q&A, if that's okay with yourself.
Yeah, sure, that's fine. Well, okay, so first of all, I didn't get in this by choice. I was an accidental leader, okay? So it was by accident, I guess. It's just a relative 40 years ago asked me to join Forever Living Products. And so he sold me a case of Altgibers juice bottles that I would go around and get customers and things like that. The idea of team building wasn't even a concept because as was mentioned, you know, it's pre-internet, pre-personal computer, pre-cell phone, pre-UPX, FedEx, whatever X, it's all pre. And that's it. The only thing you have is product and brochures. So the best qualification rank I think we had back then was garage qualified. You know, how much products you had in your garage. But I don't know if in the UK you guys have garages out there, but in the US we do. So the thing is, that was it. So, but the thing is, yeah, you know, that's why I think of all people, I think the people who've been in this the most. And Larry Thompson's been in it longer than I have. Some of you might have heard of Larry Thompson, and he's the founding leader of Herbalife, him and Mark Hughes, and along with Jim Rohn. But anyway, when you've been in it that long, then you appreciate it so much more so than people that are just joining today, and then they ask the question, "Is this hard?" And then we just, we laugh, You want to know hard, go back 40 years ago and we'll show you hard. This is a walk in the park. Okay. I mean, this is nothing but entertainment and fun. And that's how I feel about it. It's because everything we had back then, especially, as I progressed into the 80s back then, and then we went and we started getting these wonderful tools like a VHS tape player where I could pop in a video and I could show some prospects a tape on Jeffro Birdie, the guy that we called the $10,000 a day man back then. And tools like that where we could have someone do a professional presentation. And then we had these whiteboards where we could actually draw circles and give examples back then of what you got to do to make it. Even slide projectors, so tools. The thing that I've come to appreciate is that as technology has impacted society, that's also dictated how we do network marketing. And it's always for the better. And it always makes what we do not only better in terms of how much time it saves us, but the fact that financially what it saves us. I can remember it was a normal thing for us to have $1,000 phone bill every month. It was a normal thing for us to spend out hundreds of dollars every month mailing out packages. People get literature, they might get a tape to listen to or to view, something like that. Today, it's like all free, you just message the link. But I'll go into my story. And again, so it began 40 years ago. It began by, a friend introducing me to some products, to the opportunity. And then I got started back then doing that. And again, it was just a product focus. And keep in mind, I've been in 40 years, but the first 14 years, I really played with it as a hobby. Because again, it wasn't something that I understood you could really make a successful income with it. And so it wasn't until, and I had a business back then, had like 40 employees at one point. And then finally I had two major accounts and they both decided to save money, and which meant I had to go. And when I had to go, then I was stuck with, some inventory, some equipment, things like that. I spent a year selling it off, thinking to myself, what am I going to do? After 10 years of always having money coming in, now I got nothing coming in, nothing. And prior to that, I had listened to, I don't know if any of you remember Earl Nightingale. So I would listen to Earl Nightingale's tapes. And at that time, and I had a cleaning business. So sometimes when I'd work at night, have to go into a store, do a floor, something like that, work with some employees, or somebody didn't show up, I had to do their job. Anyway, as I drove to the job, I would listen to those tapes, Earl Nightingale. And so it just, and again, what was I going to do with that information? Who knows? At the time, it just made me feel better. It was all part of personal growth, though we didn't really call it personal growth back then. But I started listening, getting indoctrinated into that kind of thinking, possibility thinking that he was so good at. And so when I lost my major accounts and I had no money coming in, and I had played with network marketing as a hobby during that 14-year period, I thought to myself, what am I going to do? How am I going to get out of this? I'm absolutely broke. I mean, I have nothing coming in now. And, then I thought, you know what? What about network marketing? I mean, you've been playing with it for 14 years. Now, why don't you just take it seriously? And so that's when I went in search for a company. I found the company, and then I thought, okay, I found the company, but I don't have any money to get started. As a matter of fact, the guy that I was going to work with was the #1 income earner of that company. I know at his peak, he was like a $400,000 a month earner. He's just blowing it out. Anyway, and I thought, wow. And I was so depressed about the fact that I don't have any money to get started. And so I remember one day when I was thinking about this, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I was sitting on my porch. I looked out and saw the only thing that was left from my previous business was a junk truck. The engine didn't start. The one of the tires was flat. I kept the window rolled down for the neighborhood cat so he could sleep in it. And it hit me. I've been walking by this junk truck for months, just wondering, what am I going to do? How am I going to get the money to get started? And it was right in front of me the whole time. But it wasn't until I started asking the right questions. And then I picked up the phone, I called the junkyard man, and I said, hey, will you come over here and see what you give me for this? So he did. He said, I'll give you $400. And I said, take it. And I put $200 into my business and $200 into groceries. And that was how I began my business. Now today, my business averages $200 million a year. $200 million a year. $200, $200 million a year. But how many people join a company and spend $200, don't do anything? Most of the people, right? What's the difference? The difference is I was committed. The difference was I had a compelling desire, reason to do it. And that's what, but again, you know, my circumstances still were far from perfect because I couldn't even afford a cell phone bill. My sponsor, who lived in California, sent me a cell phone because, you know, I couldn't afford a cell phone bill. And so I didn't get good reception where I was, so I had to drive up in the hills of Tennessee. And that's where I'd make phone calls. That's where I'd set up appointments. I can remember one day I opened up a cattle gate so I wouldn't be in the road, drove the truck into the pasture, closed the gate so the cows didn't get out, manures everywhere. Got my notes out on the hood, and I started making phone calls, started calling people, setting up appointments. And of course, then they were asking me, what's that sound? I mean, I'm hearing cows. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I mean, hey, you know, sometimes I just like to go for a drive in the country, you know, clear my head. I mean, I love nature, you know. Anyway, so I'd set up the appointments. And even when I set up the appointments and I drove out to see the prospect, or the prospect had a group of people ready for me, you know, I'd have to borrow money just to get gas to drive back home. And I can remember at that time, I was behind 3 months to the bank on my payment for my truck. Had not paid my utilities. I got a knock at the door one day, and he said, hey, I'm here for the money for the utilities. And I said, oh, yeah, right, okay. Let's go out to my truck. I have a checkbook there. I'll write you a check. Not that I had a lot of money in my bank account. So I went out to the driveway, truck was gone. The bank had already come and got it that morning. And I looked at him, I said, where's my truck? Where's my truck? And he just looked at me and says, sir, you look like a man with problems. So he cut off my utilities. Now there was this 80-year-old man. He always followed me from company to company. God knows why, I have no idea. Just a nice old man, engineer, had 5 pens in his pocket, wallet. He gave me the money to get my utilities cut on, and he gave me a car that looked like it had been in his family 4 generations. It did have a little paint left on it. And that was the car that I was going to drive around and talk success to people with. Of course, I parked it far from the eye. But, you know, I remember, again, it wasn't easy. I remember one weekend I came home, there was 100 messages on my answering machine. My friend was with me, and he said, wow, there's all my creditors, you know. What are you going to do? And I said, I'll show you. And I went up to the machine. I unplugged it, plugged it back in. I said, wow, look at that. Went back to 0. Because you have to have a sense of humor. if you are going to make it in network marketing, you got problems. And I remember when I had to drive to Cincinnati, Ohio, had to do a meeting. And I had my oil changed before I went, but the guy forgot to put the plug back. And as I was driving up the interstate, because it's going to be a long drive from where I lived at the time, about an 8-hour drive. And as I was getting close to Nashville, Tennessee, and I was just thinking about everything, thinking about, things are starting to improve. I've identified some leaders. They're growing. They're sponsoring. A team is developing. Things are happening. It's going to happen. And then all of a sudden, boom, boom, bam, bam, and I'm on the side of the road. My engine locked up. And then I'm doing this. I don't know if they do that in the UK. But I was doing that. And trucker picked me up, took me to an exit, called my father, which was a very hard phone call to make because, he ran a company. My 2 brothers graduated from a university. So did my sister. Not me. I went as far as high school. The whole education thing didn't make sense to me. And having a job, being employed, didn't make sense to me. And so I called my father and I said, my car locked up. I'm on the side of the road. The engine's not working. I need a car so I can get to Cincinnati. Can you help me out? And I remember what he said. He said, son, I think it's about time you get a job. And I know that he's been having these discussions with my 2 brothers and sister about how my life has gone down the toilet ever since I got involved in the pyramid thing. So the turning point, I'd say, in my situation, I'd say it was, again, you have to have a compelling desire, like I mentioned. Something that will really motivate you, move you to commit. Because it's human nature to go the course of least resistance, don't do any more than what's required. Well, most people they won't even do that. But I'd say the turning point too was, other than my circumstances, was in finding my why. Your why is not your product. Your why is not your opportunity. Your why is about who you are. What is your life about? What are you living for? If you had all the money in the world, all the cars, all the houses, full bank account, all that, then what is it you want? So those things I had to come to terms with. But the other thing was listening to Anthony Robbins, Unlimited Power. I would do that every day. Get up in the morning, pop in a tape, start taking notes, listening to Anthony. The past doesn't equal the future. Quit visualizing all your pain, everything you've gone through, everything that you've hated about your life so far. Quit doing replay. So I took notes every day, go running in the morning. Then after that, then I think, okay, who am I working with? What am I doing? Who am I going after? And that was my agenda every day. But on Sundays, I would go down Dream Street. I say Dream Street, but it's Dream Streets, really. And that was where the rich people lived, houses that were built, and, it's pre-Civil War, which would mean 1860. Beautiful mansions, and just walk around and look at these beautiful estates and manicured lawns and these perennial gardens, rose gardens, BMW and Mercedes in the driveway. And I think to myself, yeah, this is the way my life's going to be. And this is the way my life is going to turn out. And that house, yeah, I'm going to have one like that. And that Mercedes, that BMW, why not? That rose garden, perennial garden, yeah, and a garden or two. And the thing was, in 18 months, I was moving into one of those houses. In 18 months. in 18 months. Going from junk, going from nothing, to moving into a beautiful 1860 Greek revival, the pillars out front, all that. Beautiful house in 18 months. Now, some people call that the law of attraction, and you attract what you think about. See, if we think that we're losers in network marketing, it's going to be confirmed. If we don't like the people that we're with, it's going to make sure that we continue to work with people that we don't like, or people that we think are losers in network marketing. It's going to be confirmed that we're always going to work with losers. Or this is going to turn out the way it always has in the past. Other companies, other experiences that we've had, negative experiences, if that's what we think about, then that's what we're going to repeat. Now, unlimited power, Anthony Robbins got that out of my head. I smashed those images. But the thing was, I was doing the law of attraction before the book Law of Attraction was ever written. Because I would walk down Dream Street every Sunday and I'd visualize my life, how it was going to turn out. And the thing was, and by the way, that was 26 years ago. 26 years ago. And then I never looked back. I just kept going forward. Now, that did not mean I had a perfect situation, because it was great that I had arrived, but in that company, 26, yeah. So in that company, I only had about 6 years with them, and then that company was sold. You know, it's really interesting, because when we're going through problems, sometimes we just think it's the worst thing that could ever happen to us. It's the end of the world. When really it's the best thing that could ever happen to us. I've heard it said, adversity will make you great. I believe it. I believe it. It's not that I want trouble or you want trouble. I know you don't. I don't like bad news. Matter of fact, when somebody says to me, you know, I got bad news and good news, and okay, get the bad news over first. You know, but the thing is, nobody likes bad news. But back when I lost my business, it was like the end of the world, because I was in my comfort zone. I had money coming in, money going out, but I felt secure. I felt secure. So network marketing was just a hobby. I didn't embrace it as a profession. And then when my circumstances changed and it was the end of the world, then I found in 18 months my life changed in such a positive way. Then when the company was sold and these owners came in and they thought they would motivate us, right? That is, by changing the compensation plan, doubling the requirements. Yeah, it motivated me. Find another company. But again, that wasn't something I wanted to go through, because it's the unknown, right? And the unknown scares us sometimes. But it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And then I found another company. And I don't know. I mean, so my income is, 20 times what it was in the previous company. But it was the best thing. Losing that was the best thing that ever happened. And hopefully, none of you will have to go through that. It's not that you have to go through this whole process. I think the important thing here is just to understand that you have to find a compelling reason. You have to keep yourself committed to personal growth. And then you have to apply it, which means we got to move from personal growth into leadership. And leadership is where we're an example of what we're reading, what we're learning. We're not the eternal student. It's like some of the kids that I went to, in high school with, right? And they went off to universities and all that. Well, they never wanted to graduate because it meant they had to get a job. They just wanted to stay in school. Well, we can't be like that. We can't just commit to personal growth. There comes a time we've got to execute it. And then we have to show our people how to execute it. But since that time, I can tell you that after I made that move, made that transition, Still have my beautiful house, so it was secured. But again, getting back to my why, I realized my house is not defined by material things, by cars and houses and things like that, or wearing a Rolex. It's not defined by that. And I remember when the company was registering the products to go overseas, I had a passport back then just because it was cool. I'd never been outside the United States. I didn't know there was life outside of the United States. So when the company was, I remember when they were enrolling in products in Korea, registering products in Korea, I had somebody that shared a contact with me, a man who was a networker in Seoul, Korea. I sent him an email. I said, I talked about what we're doing, and I said, if you're open, that I'd be interested in working with you. And then I was at a party one night, and I remember reading the email, and he says, if you want to do business with me, you need to come to Seoul, Korea, and you need to come now. And then I announced to everyone at the party, I said, I'm leaving for Seoul, Korea tomorrow morning. I went down to the airport, got a ticket, got on the plane, left. My family said I was crazy. Said, you don't know what it's like over there. You don't even speak their language. Got over there finally. You know, I always considered a long flight in the United States 3 hours torture, you know. You know, from the time you get to the first airport and you get to the last, in that case, Seoul, it's 24 hours, you know. And so when I was there, I ran all over that peninsula doing meetings with him. I mean, you cannot outwork an Asian. That's what I've learned. And it was amazing. He took me to the island of Guam, which is about 3 hours outside of Seoul. It's an American territory. Beautiful Pacific island. And I said, yeah, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. Flew back to the United States, sold my house, packed my stuff up, shipped it to Guam, got a place there on the beach. And I said, I'm going to live on the island, and I'll fly to Seoul. It's only 3 hours away. And then I can work any Asian country here on this side of the world. Well, guess what? I mean, I only planned on being there a year. I told my family, I'll be back in a year. Now, I stayed almost 6 years. You know what? I had this thing in my head, get done. Get done. Get done means hit it hard. Hit it so hard, it's going to pay you so much that financially you're done. And that was my attitude, get done. So I went over there and I ran around 10 Asian countries. Now, this is one of the things I'm going to be training on next week. Some of you might know Ray Higdon. Okay, so with Ray wants me speaking on how to build an international team. See, what I did was I talked to my leaders back in the United States. I said, hey, I'm over here, so use me while I'm here. And they did. You know, someone said, hey, of course I'm working Korea, right? And then somebody says, hey, will you go over to the Philippines because we're shipping products over in the Philippines. Went over there, first meeting had 50 people. The Philippines today is still a very large market in my organization, very large. I mean, I have one leg does over $1 million a month, just one leg. And that's one of the poorest countries in Asia, selling an $80 product. How's that possible? They sell it one capsule at a time. They know how to get it done. But you know, the thing was, then I had another lady I talked to. And she was, again, a referral. Called her up. She's in Hawaii. I recognized her voice as being Asian. I said, what part of Asia are you from? And she said, Japan. So she joined, and in talking to her, I said, well, who do you know that might be very good? I mean, somebody that's great. She said, well, I know somebody in Tokyo, but he's already successful. He wouldn't be interested. And now most people will stop at that point and they'd say, well, yeah, you're right. Who else have we got? And then I said, well, I like talking to successful people, so I think I would enjoy that. And then she threw out the next roadblock. Well, he doesn't speak English and you don't speak Japanese, so most people would think, yeah, you're right. Who else have you got? And I said, you know what? You're right. But I got this thing on my phone. It's called three-way call. And I noticed you speak Japanese and English, so why don't you just translate? And she said, okay. She tied me in real quick with him. We started talking. And long story short, he came in and just blew it out big. Blew it out big. We got to work through our obstacles and not see them as obstacles, just see them as opportunities, what they are. But another person, a lady that was on my front line, most people would consider her a dud. She had been involved in network marketing before. She wasn't a mover, shaker. She's just one of those quiet kind of leaders. I call them submarines, you know. They're not like destroyers, the way they move through water, you know, intimidating. You don't see these people coming, right? Anyway, Adrian understands that. But one day I said to her, come on, Linda, you've been around, so who do you know? And she said, well, I know this lady in Singapore, but I already talked to her. She's not interested. And I said, yeah. She's not interested because you're weak. You're weak in the way you are with people. Come on now. You just, you know, you don't push it. What's her phone number? And so I called her up. I said, and her name was Sherry. I said, hey, Sherry, I don't know you. You don't know me, but we got a friend in common, and Linda. And so she shared your phone number. I just want to call you, say I'd like to meet you for lunch, if possible. And I know she's already told you about what we're doing, and I understand you're not interested. That's fine. I said, but I want to tell you anyway what I'm doing. And if you're still not interested, that's cool. We'll just be friends, right? I like being friends with other leaders and other companies. She said, okay. So I got over there, had lunch. She's very tough. She's a destroyer, that woman. That woman's a destroyer. She knows how to push it. And so it's two destroyers meeting, right? I'm more of an aircraft carrier, really. You know, I'm more of the one that's encouraging everybody, you know, come on, get the planes up, let's do the mission, you know? And I welcome them when they come back. Hey, welcome back, you know? But anyway, so long story short, she said she agreed to join after 2 days. So I called the woman back in Canada. I said, what's your ID number? Because she's coming in. Well, that woman does around $2 million a month. All because I got good at questions. That is asking people, who do you know? Who do you know? See, it's like what Think and Grow Rich said, that more gold has been harvested out of the mine than out of the mountains. There's a lot of gold in the minds of people that you are around, that people are in your downline, people that are in your group, and we might consider them you know, people that have no value, and yet they have a lot of knowledge of people that they've met, relationships. And it's our job to get into their heads and find out who they know. And that was the one thing I was very good at. And now some call that taprooting. Taprooting, they have a sophisticated term for that. I just called it working through my legs. I work through my leaders to find better leaders. And when I find those better leaders, I work through them to find better leaders. And when I find those leaders, I work through them to find better leaders. And see, whatever you're working, whatever company is, whatever that top rank it is, whatever you want to call that, you know, triple diamond, master of disaster, whatever. Once you are 4 generations or 4 ranks deep with those kind of leader positions, that's what I call a cooked leg. You need to focus on another leg. And that was the thing. I knew my legs that were cooked, and you know, I only needed 3 to max it out. 3 legs done. Okay, so And so eventually then I had it down to one. And then I just focused on that one, focused on that one, focused on that one. And that was the thing. So when Ray Higdon met me, it was funny. It was this time last year, we had lunch, and he asked me the question. He said, so how many people do you recruit every month? And I looked at him and I laughed. I said, are you serious? I said, I haven't recruited anybody in 18 years. And he looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, no, you got to understand, I sponsored 72 people my first 2 years. After that, I found my 3 drivers. I worked with my 3 drivers. And then I worked with their people. And I worked with their people. And I worked with their people. And I drove it deep. I'm not a sponsor monster. I don't believe in this thing about throwing sand against the wall and see what sticks. It's all about working with your leaders. And that's what I did. And so I kept going through my lines, meeting people, driving it deep, meeting people, driving it deep, meeting people, driving it deep. That was the secret to my success in my lines. So when I see these leaders in other companies, they brag, I'm going to be the top earner this month in my company. I'm the #1 income earner anyway. I'm going to be the top earner. I'm like, that's just a different definition of insanity. It's a different definition for a job. What you're doing is you're trading time for money. See, I'm living the dream. You're living the nightmare. I can go away. I just came back from a trip in New York City. You know, we just had 10 days of just fun out there. Went from city to city. I think I spent $25,000 just in hotel rooms alone. You know what I mean? I'm not worried. I don't look at reports. I don't look at reports to see at the end of the month, am I going to make it? Am I going to qualify? I don't worry about that stuff. I don't even know how to get in my company's back office. I don't even know what my password is. I mean, I'm not concerned about that at all. Not concerned. You know, at the end of the month, I'll talk to my rep and I'll say, is everything fine? Yeah, everything's fine. Okay, nice talking to you. I never see a product go out. I never see a product consumed. The only thing I do is I see this and it says I just got a notification from the bank. The company made a deposit. And that's all I ever see. Other than that, oh, hang on, I almost lost power. I forgot I got to put power in this iPad. So the thing about it is, the key to your success is really going to be, your dedication to your people. And, if you haven't found them all, then fine, stay on the hunt. Just stay on the hunt because they're out there. They are out there. Other than that, some of the things like, and by the way, when Ray understood where I was coming from, he considers me a different leader in that respect. But the one thing that I did get more involved in, and that is social media, because I noticed, from the 40 years ago, going back 40 years ago, again, technology dictates how we're going to do network marketing. The problem most leaders get hung up on is paradigms, and when they shift, they don't see it. And then they think lightning's always going to strike in the same place, always. And that if what I did 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, if I did that and I got these results, therefore, if I always do that, I will always get these results. That's the trap door that most people fall through. So I see a lot of leaders, even in my upline, downline, who are old timers. They're traditional networkers. They haven't made that transition yet, and sun is coming through from that side. And so as a result, they haven't made the changes. I've been one of those that have been a progressive learner, always wanted to be. So I believe that the principles never change, just the tools. Principles never change. We all have to be involved in prospecting people. To get our business going, we have to be involved in sponsoring people and duplicating an organization, having a system, things like that. Those are principles. But how we exercise or execute those principles and the tools and the methods can be very different, very different. And so then I've understood that I always need to ask the question, how do you do network marketing today? Now, I know how we did it just a few years ago. If you remember, just a couple of years ago, we didn't have Facebook Lives. Now we got our own television station, our own personalized television station. Facebook Live, most powerful tool in network marketing. A couple of years ago, we didn't have that. So we see how fast everything moves, how it changes. The question is, are we going to adapt, and are we going to use the tools? It amazes me. Even my sponsor does not do Facebook Lives. I'm like, what? I mean, are you out of your freaking mind? So, and I don't know that you guys, if you use it or not. If you don't, then just understand, I would start learning to get good at how to use Facebook. Definitely, number one. Number two, if you can use some of the other platforms. If you want to use LinkedIn, if you want to use Instagram, whatever, sure. But for sure, if you get good at Facebook, I mean, you got 2 billion people on it. I mean, why wouldn't I be good at that? Why wouldn't you be good at that? I can tell you that when I started doing Facebook Lives, everyone sucks. And before you become great, you have to become good. Before you become good, you have to become average. And before you become average, you suck. It's okay. We all go through it. Okay, so pay the price, right? And just do it. And don't worry. And here's the other thing. Don't compare yourself to other people out there. The social media, Facebook rock stars out there, the people that are, either crazy or I don't know. They're just so electric. Here's the thing. You are good enough and people will buy into your personality style. You are going to attract the kind of people that you want and the people that are going to be comfortable with you. I promise you. I promise you, I'm not electric on my Facebook Lives. I just show up and I tell it like it is. And for some reason, there's a lot of people that like to hear it just that way. But if you do that, I can tell you that since I've been doing that, was the one thing Ray Higdon coached me on. He coached me on that. He said, I was doing one a week, and I thought one a week was pretty good. I was pretty proud of that. And he said, if you want to really crush it, you're going to have to do them every day. And I said, every day? He said, every day. Well, I don't do them every day. I make sure I do 4 a week. And then I'll put out other content, either content that you read, or I'll do a less than 5 pre-recorded video and put that up. Things like that. I mix it up. Sometimes I'll bring on a speaker, someone that, even Austin. Me and Austin did one, anyway, that was fun. But I mix it up sometimes like that. So the thing about it is, just work on that. If you're not working on that, I encourage a lot of my leaders to do it. Some of them are so stubborn. I have one guy in Jakarta, Indonesia, that's finally doing them. And he's so great. He really is. He just, he finally opened up at the end and told me what he didn't like about the whole thing after I'd been preaching to him about it for 6 months. He said, well, you got to understand, I've got friends and schoolmates and family that's in my Facebook page, and I don't want to hit them with this. And I said, well, here's what you need to do. Just announce to your friends, schoolmates, and relatives what you're going to use this page for from now and in the future, okay? Go ahead and give them notice. Now, here's a couple of things you can do. One, you could just go ahead and unfriend them, which might create some problems. Number 2, you could tell them to unfriend you. Okay. Number 3, do like me, just have a Facebook secret group for just those people. And that's what you keep it about. If it's about family or whatever, just any non-MLM network marketing stuff, that's where that goes. And then they won't hate you, okay? And that's where you put those people. But you give them a date, say, hey, come August 15th, this is what I'm going to do with my Facebook page. I'm going to have to use it for this, and I'm going to be doing live. And I have some schoolmates, sometimes they'll message me, send me a friend request, and I'll say to them, listen, I would accept you, but you need to understand, I use this for business, but I'll add you to my secret group. And that way you'll always know what I'm doing. And then we can just stay in touch that way. That way you won't hear all my network marketing stuff that you'll hate. So, and they may not hate it either too, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, so if that's something that's holding some of you back, then just do that. It's a powerful tool. But I think what we could do is open it up for any questions. If anybody has a question, what do you think, Danny?
Well, I was actually going to ask you about lives, but I think you've covered everything.
Oh, wow.
Just
awesome.
a case of get out and do it. So I do them occasionally, and I feel a bit silly, and I've usually got my dogs with me, so it's a bit of a distraction. But yeah, definitely need to do more of them. I enjoy them once I've done it. I feel very virtuous, but until then, otherwise I'm like,
Yeah.
But but thank you very much. I've written loads of notes.
Well, here's the thing. Again, comparitis is what keeps a lot of people back. And I use the example, some of you might have heard of Bob Heilig. Bob's a great guy, friend of mine. And, Bob made a comment one time that when he was trying to, he was doing videos. First, he was doing Periscope. I think he was doing YouTube, then Periscope, and then finally Facebook Lives. But he was so busy analyzing all the other speakers. And then one day he heard an interview from Oprah Winfrey, and they asked her how she became so successful, considering that there were other shows that were airing at the same time that were doing incredibly well. And her answer was, I made it a policy with my staff never to look at any of their shows. And what she focused on was her own brand, her own self, who she is, what she's about. And I think that's the important thing is, I think what really gets people derailed is when they start doing that. Bob said he immediately quit. He unfollowed just about everybody and started getting focused on his own brand. His first year, he made $1 million just in training. So great success story, but there's principles to be learned. I mean, there's people I follow. I try to, I tune in, but at the end of the day, here's the thing. Many of you have downlines, and that's what you got to pay attention to, right? And so the content I put out benefits. Actually, most of the lives I do, most of the people get on my lives are not even in my downline. They aren't. But it's cool, it's nice to be able to meet so many people. But eventually, over time, things change, right? And sometimes either companies are sold, or somebody has an upline that's just like a terrorist organization, and then they decide they have to go, they have to move on. So when you do that, because you might wonder, why am I doing this? You're doing this for a couple of reasons. Number one, it helps you to sharpen as a leader. Anytime, and I learned this a long time ago, who benefits the most? The listener or the person teaching the material when material's being taught? It's the teacher, right? He's getting the most, or she's getting the most out of it because she had to do all the research to get it ready, right? And again, you don't have to spend a lot of time doing this, but you do need to think out what you want to talk about, not just show up on a live and say, well, isn't it a beautiful day in the park? And yes, I have my dog with me. My dog, I've had this dog, let me see, 11 years, I think, you know what I mean? So we don't want to do that stuff. We want to have our points right. Greet people. People love it when you call them out by name. If you can remember where they lived, what countries they're from, just any comments that you want to make with them, things like that. You need to talk to me. Yeah, I'll be done in a minute. Just wait. You need a break anyway. Anyway, he's working on it. That's one of my workers. I bought a house next door, and he's actually we're renovating some of it. Anyway, it's a beautiful cabin that overlooks the mountains. Anyway, so the thing is, you be prepared, and that's the thing. But that's the thing. So you benefit from it. Number one. Number two, your downline benefits from it when you're doing these trainings. You're setting the example for them. Because again, when we talk about duplication, it's not just having a system in which you sponsor people and they can sponsor people and those people can sponsor people. When we talk about duplication, we're talking about this very thing. Because what the mindset is wrong with most leaders. They have their network marketing business here. They have their social media over here. But it's not there. It has to be all one thing. And until they see it as one thing, they're never going to do it correctly. They're not going to do it correctly. And that's part of your duplication, is teaching leaders, look, I'm doing a Facebook Live. What are you doing? Are you doing a Facebook Live? Why not? That's duplication, man. I'm telling you, I'm setting the example. You need to set the example to your team. They need to set the example to their team. That's duplication. So they benefit from it. Number three, and this is the third reason why you would do a Facebook Live, and that is because you want to do what's called attraction marketing. The guy in Jakarta called me one night, and recently he said, tell me how I can do attraction marketing. And I laughed. I said, I've been talking to you about doing Facebook Lives, for 6, 7, 8 months now. Well, what do you think that is? That is attraction marketing, dummy. I mean, it is. It is. Because what you're doing is you're putting yourself out there. Now, when people are not happy wherever they are, they're going to attract to the people they want to be sponsored by, right? The people that they're comfortable with. Well, if you're never there, they don't know you, they're certainly not going to attract to you. I don't care how good you are. So you have to put yourself out there. And so that's the thing. And that's the third reason. And then why would, again, I said I wasn't focusing on sponsoring people, right? So I'm not focused on sponsoring people. That's true. But when people reach out to me, then and they say, hey, I'm things have happened in my company, blah, 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 I'm needing a home. I said, okay, fine. Then I look into my organization at a leader. I said, okay, who's somebody that's really working hard? They're pushing it. Maybe they're not, things aren't happening for them right now, but they're really putting forth the effort. Then I want them to sponsor this individual. So I do that a lot, and so when people ask me, well, you sponsor me? I said, well, I haven't done that in 18 years. I haven't done that in 18 years. And so now I can refer you, and then I'm available. You can call on me as if you were frontline to me anytime you want. I'm available. So that's the thing. But that's the third reason why you would do Facebook Lives. Again, you're developing your own leadership, you're developing your team, and you're attracting people to yourself. And the thing is, I know you don't like it. I don't like it. But you have to do what you don't like sometimes. Isn't that what our parents told us? We have to do that. I remember when I was in New Zealand, we were on a reward trip. Just beautiful. Just beautiful at Queenstown, I think, where we were. And my sponsor was with me, and the mountains had snow all over. It was like the backdrop of the Lord of the Rings, and that was the backdrop. And I said, hey, Dave, let's I said, do a Facebook Live. And he said, I don't feel like it. And I said, what has that got to do with it? You don't feel like it? Who cares what you feel? You just do it. You don't ask yourself, how do I feel? Anyway, so that's the thing about it. Once you get in the mode of doing it, it's like a muscle. You exercise it. It's like when you go to the gym. I know nobody on this call has this problem, but if you're overweight, right? Somebody's overweight, they're going to go to the gym. They're thinking, oh, man, this is torture. I hate this. I'm going to go in. All these people are just going to be, bulked out. They're going to be ripped, these guys. And all these girls are going to look so freaking sexy, and I look so terrible. But you force yourself, you go fight those feelings, you get on the treadmill, and you repeatedly do it, and maybe you're hitting some iron, and all that, and now you're seeing results. Now how do you feel about going to the gym? You can't wait to go to the gym. Going to the gym is part of your life. You know, it's just something you long to do, love to do, okay? And that's the way it is with anything like this, with Facebook Lives and things like that. Again, if we're not used to it, I understand. But if we just do it, you just do it, and then you don't think about it. And so now wherever I am, like some of the ones I got back from New York City, and then I would just take my phone out and just do a Facebook Live wherever I am. Just share something. And it's great. But once you get in the habit of doing it and your people see you doing it and they start doing it, I'll tell you what, you watch your group, it will explode. It will literally explode. So now, any questions on anything?
Jeff, can I just say that's, and I'm not trying to big you up or anything like that, but
yeah,
that's the best training that we've ever had. And we've had some very good speakers on here. Both.
Well, you can't beat Austin now.
Austin actually did text me and say, "Can you make sure that you say hi to Jeff? He's a great man with a lovely family." So I've got to say that first and foremost.
Well, he stayed at our house twice. He stayed here twice.
Right.
So he's he's a lot of fun. We've had some wine contests here, because I got like 4 wine stations throughout this house. So, I say, hey, try this one, see what you think,
He came over to the UK a couple of weeks ago, and we ended up taking him to a pie and mash shop, and we gave him pins, and we stuck him in a black cab, and we stuck him on the tube, and threw him in a phone box. So we had a lot of fun. Austin's a great guy.
Yeah.
But what I loved about tonight was just it was your story, which is what I asked anyway. But it was just so relaxed and it was so real. And a lot of what you said tonight it hit a nerve with me. So I'm fairly certain that it hit a nerve with many people on this call tonight as well. And we see it all the time in network marketing, in the fact that so many people get in, and if they haven't had that massive win within their first week, month, 3 months, 6 months, they're gone. So for you to turn around and say that you've been in this industry for 40 years, where most people come out of school and they're programmed in their head that they've got to go into full-time education until they're 65 or 70, and they piss and moan about that after 10 to 15 years, but you've been in an industry that's not a conventional business, that isn't a popular industry from people from the outside. And like you said, you took 14 years as a hobby to get going, but then in 18 months you managed to go from here to here. And I mean, the biggest thing out of all of that was you haven't personally sponsored anyone in 18 years. So I absolutely
take pride in that.
Yeah, good for you. I absolutely love that training. I really did. And
I didn't do, and it wasn't superstars. These were people who never made it in any company.
Yeah.
I mean, they were in companies, but they were not top pins. They weren't the next position to the top pins. I mean, these were people who never made it really in any of their companies. So that's the thing. But team culture is real important, and creating that bond, you get that family bond. And I know that recently I mentioned about people reaching out to me, and I'll say, well, I'll find you a sponsor. I remember I had a Blue Diamond in New Skin. That's top pin in New Skin. Her upline were just tyrants, and so she finally had enough of it. And this woman's amazing, because she was actually applying Ray's strategies, and so like in 1 year she just grew so fast. But they demanded that she stop doing Facebook Lives and do it their way. And so she reached out to me and called me one day, and she said, "Hey, I want you to mentor me." And I knew her, but I didn't know her well. And I laughed. And I said, let me see, last time I checked, I think you had 20,000 views on some of your Facebook Lives. And anyway, she laughed. She said, yeah, but those are nail salon owners. She's Vietnamese. And Anyway, long story short, I told her, I said, I don't sponsor direct. And she said, oh, really? I said, no. I said, listen. I massaged her on that, referred her. Long story short, though, but it's amazing how, like I've had her over to the house, her family here a few times. You create that culture, that family bond, and then that's it. It's amazing how many people you will attract to yourself if you keep doing these Facebook Lives, and if you keep using Facebook correctly, and some of the other things. If you're good at Instagram too, that's fine. Sorry about that. That was my assistant. Sorry about that. That was my assistant. But anyway, if you use the tools consistently, consistency is much better than being spectacular once a month. That's the key. That's the key, because you're always going to have new faces showing up on your lives, and you never know what person that's going to be a superstar. You never know. And if you just consistently do it and people consistently show up, it's just the law of numbers. If you do the numbers, then you're going to have enough great people come out of that. So I think the biggest challenge a lot of people have is that, again, there's the compare-itis. Stay away from that. Number two, find the balance. Don't be an extremist. Don't be ultra-traditional. On the other hand, don't be, ultra-contemporary. Stay in the middle. Stay in the middle. See, in November, I'll go to Asia. I promise you, when I get over to those countries and they're very sophisticated, like Korea, like South Korea, they still like to do meetings, and they still like to get together face to face. They don't do conference calls. They're not real big Facebook lovers. Some of them are on it, but they just don't use it. It's a different culture. But I'm just saying, I've learned to be flexible. I'm not an extremist. So I don't get over to another country and say, hey, you got to do it my way, or this is the way. I just observe the way people do things. The Philippines, they're very big on Facebook. On the other hand, they just don't know how to use it correctly. So the thing is, it's just a matter of just working with people, but don't be an extremist one way or the other. I go to the Philippines, I'm going to do meetings. If I'm in the United States, we still may do a meeting. Sometimes I do have some events I go out to. But I'm going to do a lot of Zoom calls, and I'm going to do a lot of Facebook group calls with people. So we're just flexible, just being flexible both ways. I see it as a toolbox. In your toolbox, you've got hammer, wrench, screwdriver. You got different tools for different things, So just be flexible with that. And if you're struggling, I don't know all your backgrounds, but I know the ones who are, who come from a traditional mindset, they have the hardest time adapting to social media, like Facebook calls, things like that. On the other hand, if they're a millennial, they seem to just thrive with it, but the whole idea of doing a meeting would scare them to death, where they actually had to talk to people. They don't even pick up a phone. They don't know what a phone is, They just use Facebook Messenger, they'll message, or they'll leave a voice message, but they don't actually connect with any people or get together with them. So again, it's just the flexibility, I think, that we all have to learn and be good in all those areas and not be extreme in one versus the other. I see a lot of that today. I have it in my team too. I remind them, I really do. It's, and then sometimes, it just depends on your leaders. It's sort of tough love. I remember one of my best leaders, a woman, and the woman I mentioned in Singapore, she's ultra traditional. And I told her about, talked to her so much about this, and she said, Jeff, my team just doesn't like Facebook. They don't. I said, you know why they don't like Facebook? Because you absolutely suck at it. Now, of course, you can say that when you got a good relationship, right? I said, you absolutely suck at it. Because look at, well, you haven't posted in such a long time. You don't do Facebook Lives. So you don't set the example. So why would your team follow you? You know? So sometimes you just have to have those frank conversations with leaders. And I do that. And I do it in love. You know, they know I love them. But I'm gonna be direct when it comes to what the problem is and what they need. Because again, there's the paradigm shift, but they don't see the shift. They're still stuck in the past thinking, well, if I do what I did, 5 years ago, I'll still get the same results. Well, no, you won't. You won't get the same results because society has changed. People have changed. What they connect to has changed. I mean, I have to get my iPad away from my 10-year-old and say, don't forget, I am your father. That iPad is not your father, you know. But see, it's just how people connect, you know. So, you know, I love it. It's a great profession. I see that it continues to evolve. More people attract to it, and again, yeah, I agree. A lot of people drop out. I think it's very important if you want less attrition. Set it up correctly from the very beginning. Most people don't do that. They just want to blow the sunshine in their face. Okay, I want to put the storm clouds there. And I tell them right up front, I said, okay, and this is after we've already gone over their goals, okay? So I know their goals. Their goals are they want to be job free in 5 years. Okay, great. They want to make X amount of dollars by the end of their first year. Okay, great. Wonderful. And I'll say, okay, here's the thing. There's only one thing I'm going to ask for you. And that is, don't come to me complaining. When you go through adversity or rejection, disappointments, because you're going to go through them. Because you just told me how great your life is going to be. And the thing I want to know is, are you worthy of it? Are you really worthy of this life? If you're worthy of this life, then I want you to know that to make that kind of money, I mean, if you want to be financially independent, you're going to have to go through hell. And get ready for it. My sponsor told me to go out and get 100 no's. I said, that's negative. He said, no, it's positive. I said, well, explain to me how it is. He said, because after you get 100, you're going to be a very rich man. I said, you're right, it is positive. So when someone said no to me, I put a smile on my face. I was bulletproof emotionally. My posture, I embraced no. It didn't bother me at all. And I think, with a lot of people, my experience was, like, I remember one man, I gave him the information. I followed up with him. He was a networker. He was an arrogant networker. And when I followed up with him, he said, well, if you think I'm your guy and I'm the guy that's going to make you rich. And I started laughing and I went, and he looked at me, he said, what? Because I was saying, thank you. And he said, what? I said, well, I was told by my sponsor that if I went out and got 100 no's, I'd be a very rich man. You put me that much closer. Thank you. Then he says, well, I don't really mean no. Well, can you explain it to me again? And I looked at my watch and I said, yeah, I got a little time. And that was my attitude. I had a bulletproof posture when it came to no's. I didn't worry about that. So when I set that person down and I explained to them, this is what you're going to go through. You are going to go through rejection. And you're going to be rejected by some of the most important people you want to say yes to your opportunity, okay? I get them ready for it. So that way when it happens, they don't quit. And that's the thing. I'll say, listen, I want you to commit to me that you're not going to quit. You're going to stay active. You're going to commit to your goal sheet. I had a leader send me a goal sheet today. Your goal sheet, what you're going to do, the hours you're going to put in, what you're going to do. and then commit to me for 1 year. And then after that, if you want to complain, go ahead, complain. But not the first year. Just do it. Just do it with me. If you don't quit me, I won't quit you. I'll stay with you all the way. And once they understand that, and they understand it's not sunshine all the time, there are storm clouds. There's, it's like Dolly Parton said, if you want the rainbow, you have to put up with the rain. So Dolly Parton was actually born in this county where I live. So she comes back here a lot. But you got to put up with the rain. And that's it. If they understand that up front, I think you'll see less attrition in your team. We just got to quit blowing the sunshine. Quit telling them how great they're going to be, or how much money, or that you're going to love it. And this is so exciting. Well, there's times it's not exciting. It's not exciting. You can get frustrated. Okay, so just understand that. You go through disappointments. But when we think about it, and this is the perspective I always teach them, you're in the job market, you drive through rush hour traffic, or however you get to work. Maybe you have to drop children off at daycare or at school. You go through all that, all these responsibilities. And then you're leaving work and you're picking your kids up or getting them at daycare, and then you're getting home. The woman comes home exhausted. Then she's got to make dinner. She's still working, right? Working hard. Has clean clothes, still working. Father comes in exhausted. You do that over and over and over. Is that easy? No, it's not easy. And it never changes. It never changes. It's like the hamster on the hamster wheel, always in motion, but in a cage. So you'll just repeat that and repeat that. We're trading time for money. That's great as long as you have perfect health and you'll never die. But what happens if you get sick? What happens if you're in an accident? Then how you can trade time for money? And even if that doesn't happen to you, you're going to trade your time for that, but that's all you're going to get. That's all you're going to get. And then at the end of your life, how much of your life is left? Is that worth it? Is that easy? And they'll generally say, no, that's not easy. I said, okay, then understand this. This isn't easy. It's worth it, though. That's the difference. This changes, that never changes. This you'll own, that you'll never own. This will get easier and easier the more you do it. Your income will increase, and you'll get exactly what you want out of your life, what you want to do with your life, whatever that is. You might even have children like I do. Oh my God, is that my son? Hey, Arthur.
Jeff, I've just got a few questions because I'm cautious of your time first and foremost.
Oh, it's all right. That's okay, man.
How long have you been with your current company that you're with now?
How long?
Yeah.
20 years. 20
years. And what's your downline average figures that you've got now over 20 years?
Years ago I asked him and it was at $500,000. I never asked him after that.
Wow. And how many countries is that? It's over 50 countries.
56.
Yeah.
56 countries.
Wow.
And then, I've been in 20 years, $24 million I've been paid by the company. And the reason why, the funny thing was, Ted, who owns Business for Home? Yeah. So he asked me, well, what are your lifetime earnings? I said, I have no idea. So he says, well, find out. So I called the company. I said, can you research that? And so then he got back with me. They said, well, the quick answer is, and that was 3-4 years ago. Anyway, you've earned 17 million. The long answer is that we don't really know how much, because 5 years before, our first 5 years, we changed our accounting software. I can get you the answer, but it'll take a while. I said, no, forget it. That's good enough. And I let Ted know, and he says, why is it I've never heard of this company? And I said, I don't know. We're a quiet company, quiet conservative company. Anyway, but the thing about it is, yeah, so that's been my record so far. And, it's not all, like I said, not all companies work for me. Matter of fact, the majority did not. Some were just a trip to the bus stop, and others were, in this case, was a trip to the airport. But, when I look at other companies, if we look at Amway, for example, oh my gosh, how many people have done Dexter Yeager? He's a billionaire. His sons are multi-millionaires. How long has Amway been around? Or New Skin, or Herbalife? I mean, there's so many, actually. You think about it. Shackley, Forever Living Products. That was my first company. Still around doing well. So it just amazes me that how many have done well, how many people have done well in this profession. Whereas some have the idea that they join a company, they don't care if it's around next year, just as long as they can make fast money. That's a very selfish attitude, because most people in your team will not make that money. And then when it's gone, yeah, you made the money, but your team didn't. And I was in those situations, and I always, felt bad about that. I would throw people over my shoulders and go into the next company with them, just hoping to breathe some life in them and turn that around for them. But yeah, so it's just a matter. Here's the key. The key is doing these very things I talked about, because most people, and I said this in a Bob Hiley training we did this year, I said, if your company is treating you right and your product has value and they're paying you, don't leave them. Don't leave them. See, that's what most people will do. They'll quit and go to the next one thinking that they'll do better there. But see, you take you wherever you go. So the thing about it is, if we have the wrong mindset, we're going to have the wrong mindset in the next company. If we have the wrong attitude, or if we just don't understand how this thing works, we're going to take that into the next company. And then when that doesn't work, we're going to move to the next company. And then, and my good friend Jordan Adler, who wrote Beach Money, we talked about this one day. Jordan did that. He hopped 11 companies. And then finally in his 12th, he said, "I'm not doing this anymore. Now I'm gonna be committed. I'm gonna make this work." And that's really the whole key. And I think the important thing that, again, and this is important, it gets back to the fact that we have to realize, if we want to be successful, that we really have to show up and perform. We have to show up and perform. And that's not easy to do, but it's what we got to do. It's what we've got to do. We have to have that mindset that I'm going to make this work. I'm not going to let myself out of this. And I'm going to do this no matter what it takes. And we stay in there and we just make it happen. And that's what Jordan did. That's what I did. And I think that's part of what, just again, people, they just got to get that mindset, and that is the mindset that it isn't going to be easy. It's going to be worth it. But here's the thing. Personal growth is going to play a vital role in sustaining your attitude and in sustaining your endurance. There's not anytime a leader comes to me with a problem, and I'm talking about problems about their business. It's not about, some points went to the wrong person. I'm not talking about that. But it's how their business is really going. For example, I remember a leader I met and when I was over in Indonesia one time. And he came in, his wife came in, he spoke Bahasa, she translated, and I noticed his physique. His shoulders are down, He slumped a little, his head's a little down. Yes, he's walking in toward me. And I'm thinking, oh boy, okay. So immediately I'm reading him. He's a little depressed. So we sit down, and then, he's explaining through her about what his problems are in his downline, his business. And I said, I said, let me ask you this question. And he said, okay. I said, what book are you reading right now? And he says, I'm not reading any book. And I said, I know you're not reading any book. I know that. This is your problem. See, the problem isn't your business. The problem isn't your leaders. The problem is you're not committed to personal growth. You want to do the fake it till you make it Amway thing, doesn't work. Showing up with a pin on your suit doesn't work. You have to commit, dedicate yourself daily to personal growth, and then apply it. And then apply it in your life. You're not reading the books. You're not going to seminars. You're not developing. And as a result, your business is going down. Why? Because you're the example. You're the leader. If you're not committed to personal growth, you're not talking about your leaders. Hey, talking about the latest book you just read or the seminar you went to. You're not talking about that to your people. Guess what they're not doing? They're not doing it either. So everyone's doing the fake it until I make it. You're not going to make it. You're never going to make it until you commit. And so that's an important part that a lot of leaders just negate. They think that they can ignore themselves. We get haircuts, we feed our bodies, but we don't commit to personal growth. And then as a result, then our attitudes suffer, our vision suffers, and then we expose that to our leaders. We're not motivating to them. And the next thing you know, then we're wondering what's happening to the team. And it's all because we're not paying attention to what's happening to ourselves. So if there's any bit of advice that I can give you too, that's a big one right there. When a leader comes to me and they want to talk to me about their organization problems, I'll tell you right now, first question I always ask them is, what book are you reading right now? And they always tell me, I'm not reading anything. I said, you're right. Yeah.
If I just want to, again, say thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to
No, that's okay, Paul. Now, where are you? You in the UK?
Yes, yeah, I am probably half an hour south of London.
Okay.
So that is where I'm situated.
I'll come over there sometime. I'll have to.
Yeah, you should do. Yeah, we'd love to have you over here. Really would. As I said, like tonight's been absolutely gold dust. It really has. And I've got a load of notes, and I've been watching a lot of people. They've just been so focused on what you're doing. And Austin can't speak highly enough of you. And when Denny said that she'd reached out to you and you'd agreed to do the call, I was really looking forward to tonight. And it's been a fantastic call. And some of the comments that we've had tonight as well. People are saying it's the best training they've had. People are saying that it's they've picked up some fantastic information. And one of the biggest things for me is what you said towards the end as well regarding people that jump from company to company. And we've seen it a lot already with what we're doing. And people get missold the dream and they think that they're going to be able to go somewhere else and make a lot of money in a shorter space of time. But like you said, you take yourself to that same company. And if yourself's not right, and if your own mindset's not right, and if your own self-belief's not right, you're just going to be the same person. You're going to end up spending $200 or £200 in this company, in this company, in this company, in this company. So, again, thank you so much for taking the time out tonight. Everyone stayed on. I'm so glad that we've recorded it. We'll hook up on social media for sure. I love the work that you do, and I know Denny's a massive fan as well. So, guys, that is us done for Thursday night. What a fantastic call it was. Absolutely brilliant. I will get this link up into the group. Give me 20 minutes or so to get it up into the group. Jeff, once again, thank you so much. Best of,
Thank you. Appreciate it. And you too, Denny, and all of you for getting on.
Thanks, Jeff.
Very much indeed. So we'll be back Monday night for the opportunity call. other than that, have a great weekend. Enjoy yourself. Hopefully the rain disappears and the sunshine comes back.
Comes back.
That's right.
We will see you again Monday. Cheers, guys. Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Jeff. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.